Hello there, you're watching Reality Check Friday Report. I'm Maha Siddiqui. This after being on the list for 4 years and dragging its feet on meeting all the 34 action items till the last plenary in June this year. One among the major unmet promises for a long time was acting against terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar. But take a look at this. While Pakistan acted on the LET founder and 2611 mastermind Hafiz Saeed, it was mostly timed ahead of an FATF plenary. The last action came in April this year when he was sentenced to jail. This happened ahead of the plenary in June, where the FATF said that Pakistan had completed all action items and only an on-site visit remained for it to be let off the grey list. But Pakistan still has no answers on JEM terrorist Masood Azhar. Jaish was responsible for the Pulwama terror attack where India lost 40 CRPF jawans, and no word on Dawood Ibrahim as well. Pakistan has had a checkered past as far as terror financing is concerned and has been on the grey list, which is basically increased monitoring of a country. But being in the grey list puts the country in a tight financial spot. For instance, in the case of Pakistan, getting financial aid from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank and the European Union were getting difficult, further enhancing problems for the country that's in an economic quandary. So while Pakistan seeks relief from the FATF, will its exit from the grey list mean it becomes difficult to exert pressure on Pakistan to act against terror? Let me quickly introduce my guests on the show. We have with us Raj Qadian, defense expert, Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, Umar Altaf, senior journalist based in Islamabad, and Glenn Carl, former Deputy National Intelligence Officer for Transnational and also former CIA official. Glenn Carl, I want to come to you first, sir. Could this exit that we are expecting now, that announcement is still to come from the FATF officially, but it is expected that Pakistan will possibly be out of the grey list. Could any of this, even the buzz that it will step out of the grey list, have been possible if there was no indication from the US that it were to happen?
I'm very sorry, but I cannot hear. I have no audio connection.
All right. We'll try and fix that, sir, in just a bit. So while we fix that audio with Glenn Carl, let me go across to our other guest. Ashok Sajjanhar, I want to come to you, sir. You know, while we are looking possibly at the exit of Pakistan from the FATF grey list, that is increased monitoring of Pakistan for terror financing, what have we seen in the last 4 months, sir, is China blocking 5 moves by India and the US to sanction terrorists based in Pakistan in the United Nations Security Council. The last one just happened a couple of days ago when Talha Saeed, Hafiz Saeed's son, his listing was blocked by China. They put a technical hold on that. What explains the support that Pakistan gets constantly from China? Is it only meant to antagonize India?
You know, I think it is, Maha, it's not the first time that we are seeing this sort of a support coming to Pakistan from China. We've seen it in earlier cases also. You would recall, as far as the case of Masood Azhar is concerned, there were over a period of about 10 years and 4 technical holds that China had placed on designation of Masood Azhar as a terrorist. But then after the United States and UK, they pressurized China, saying that they will go from the 1267 committee to the whole Security Council and ask China for the reasons, as to substantive reasons, and to explain itself and to argue the case. Then only China relented and did this. I think China considers Pakistan to be its strategic partner, its strategic ally. Of course, you know, you can use all the statements that both the countries make, that they are iron brothers and their relationship is sweeter than honey and deeper than oceans or whatever it is. But I think the long and the short of this, Maha, is that Pakistan is firmly in the grip of China and it doesn't want to give it any possibility of moving away. Now we have seen over the last couple of months that the United States is also warming up to China. It has to Pakistan, sorry. And we have seen a large number of cases, the visit of the US ambassador to Pakistan, going to Pakistan.
All right. Ashok Sajjanar, sir, I'll interrupt you there for a bit. The FATF briefing has started. Let's listen in.
A two-day plenary with delegates from its 39 member countries and representatives from the global network. All the key outcomes are outlined in documents that journalists should have received. I'll give you details on some of the key aspects of what was discussed, and I will then take your questions. First, the FATF again expresses its sorrow at the needless loss of life, suffering, and destruction caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The FATF has repeatedly condemned Russia's invasion. In June, the FATF stripped Russia of its leadership roles and prevented Russia from taking part in a wide range of decision-making areas of the FATF. Following the plenary discussions this week, the FATF has decided to impose additional restrictions, including, number one, to bar Russia from current and future projects, and to bar Russia from participating in meetings of FATF's regional partner bodies as a FATF member. With these measures, Russia has now essentially been sidelined as a member of the FATF. This decision reflects a consensus reached and agreed upon by FATF's 39 members, and is a direct consequence of Russia's invasion of Europe, as a direct consequence of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which violates the FATF's core principles and represents a gross violation of Russia's commitments to the FATF. I would now like to update you on jurisdictions under increased monitoring, often referred to as the FATF's grey list. 3 countries are coming onto the list: the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mozambique, and Tanzania. They are being added to the list due to strategic deficiencies identified in their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing systems after evaluations by FATF regional partner organizations. All countries have agreed to action plans to address these deficiencies. I urge all of them to complete those action plans as soon as possible. There are also 2 countries coming off the grey list. The first is Nicaragua. Nicaragua has taken steps to improve its systems, including conducting more effective risk-based supervision. A FATF team visited the country and verified the reforms. Its government has given a clear commitment to continue improving its systems into the future. As a result, Nicaragua is no longer subject to increased monitoring. However, the FATF has serious concerns about the potential suppression of the non-profit sector in Nicaragua. The implementation of FATF standards should not lead to the disruption or discouragement of legitimate activity of aid organizations or other NPOs. The FATF has made it clear to the authorities in Nicaragua and urges them to work with FATF's regional partner, Gafilat, to continue improving its anti-money laundering systems. This includes ensuring that oversight of NPOs is risk-based and in line with FATF standards. The second country that is coming off the list is Pakistan. Pakistan has been on FATF's grey list since 2018. After a lot of work by the Pakistani authorities, they have worked through 2 separate action plans and completed a combined 34 action items to address deficiencies in their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing systems. The FATF welcomes this significant progress. As a result, Pakistan can now more effectively tackle anti-money laundering and terrorism financing. A FATF team has verified that the reforms are in place and that there is high-level commitment and capacity to sustain those reforms. These reforms are good for the stability and security of the country and indeed the region. That doesn't mean that there isn't more work to do. Going forward, Pakistan will need to work with the FATF regional partner, the Asia Pacific Group, to continue to strengthen its systems. I would now like to update you on the high-risk jurisdictions which are often referred to as being on the FATF's blacklist. Myanmar, which has been on the grey list for the past 2.5 years, is being moved to the blacklist. This is for failing to address a large number of strategic deficiencies in its anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing systems. These were first identified in a report in September 2018. More than 4 years later, many of those issues remain. As a result, FATF calls on countries to apply enhanced due diligence to business relations and transactions in relation to Myanmar. However, this enhanced due diligence must not negatively impact humanitarian assistance. Countries must ensure that there are no blanket measures that disrupt the flow of humanitarian funds or remittances or harm funding for legitimate and pure activity. I urge the authorities in Myanmar to swiftly complete their targeted action plan to address the strategic deficiencies identified in their country. Before taking your questions, I want to let you know that we will also be consulting next week on guidance on beneficial ownership transparency for companies and on revision of the beneficial ownership
All right,
rule
several big
for trusts
announcements
and
there,
other
apart from
legal
Pakistan
arrangements.
exiting
This
the
is
grey
to
list
stop
of the FATF, as
criminals,
was
tax
expected
evaders,
because
and
of the
sanctions
fact
evaders
that in the last
hiding
plenary in
behind
June,
shell
it was
companies.
announced by the
I will
FATF
also
that
mention
Pakistan
that
has
delegates
completed its
discussed
34
other
action
issues on
items and
plenary,
that an on-site
including
visit remains.
improving
Once that
global
happens,
asset recovery
Pakistan is likely to get
and
off
a
the grey
report
list. That
on
announcement
money
has been
laundering
made
risks
today, but other
related to
announcements
fentanyl.
also important
You can
here,
see more
significant.
details in the
Myanmar
documents
has
that
been
have been
added to the
provided.
FATF blacklist, as
will
well
now
as
take
Russia,
some
that is going to be
questions
sidelined from the FATF due to the invasion of Ukraine. Let me go back to our guests now. Major decisions there, Glenn, Carl, but coming to you on the question of Pakistan now exiting the grey list. My question to you earlier was, could this have been possible without the support of the US? And we have seen enough indications from the US that this possibly was coming.
Yes, I'm glad I can hear you now, and I'm happy to be here. Apparently, the U.S. was not just influential but decisive in the move to remove Pakistan from the gray list, from the blacklist, or gray list rather.
Grey list.
Yes, I think the issue for the U.S. really is not to let perfection get in the way of progress, and there need to be carrots as well as sticks in policy. And the U.S.'s larger objective, it seems clear to me, has always been, I know since I was involved years ago, and it remains the same still, is to keep Pakistan from becoming a complete vassal of China and completely hostile to Western nations and norms. And so this is part of a reward for progress, if not perfection.
Raj Kadian, do you buy that argument that this is to prevent Pakistan from going further into the arms of China? I mean, after all, there's an ironclad friendship that is so talked about between the two sides.
India has been the main target of Pakistani-sponsored terror attacks for the last 3 decades. That situation will not change whether he is on the grey list or they are on the white list as they have been brought today. Only thing is Pakistan will gain in the sense there will be inflow of funds from the IMF, from the World Bank, from the Asia Development Bank, European Union and others. So it will help Pakistan in coming out of the economic situation by economic difficulties. But on the ground, situation will not change. The terror attacks have continued, continuing even today. The focus may be shifting from Kashmir to Punjab. Lately, there have been indications that they are finding it difficult to sustain their operations in Kashmir because of heightened security. So they might focus to, but there is no change in Pakistanis. The leopard is not going to change its spots. India has been after the world body that the terrorists who were involved in 26/11, in Pulwama, in Pathankot, and many other terror attacks have still not been taken action against by Pakistan. They can keep claiming they don't know where is Masood Azhar. Is it believable by the world body? The problem is that every country in the world has self-interest involved. Nobody is worried about Pakistan because they're not getting hit by Pakistan terrorism. India is. So we had the main interest. Unfortunate that they've been taken out of the grey list. It will help them. The funding of the terrorism has continued. It will continue. The designated terrorists are roaming free in Pakistan. Whatever Pakistan may claim, they are in fact under the police protection now.
I'll interrupt you there because since you referred to the fact that Pakistan continues to deny that Masood Azhar and Dawood Ibrahim continue to remain in Pakistan, let's quickly play out this reaction from the FIA chief, Mohsin Bhatt, that was taken just 2 days ago. This was when there was an Interpol meeting here in New Delhi, and during the Interpol meeting, when he was confronted with a question about whether Dawood Ibrahim and Masood Azhar will be handed over to India, he had no response to that. We'll just play that out in a bit. But before that, let me go across to Umar Altaf. Umar Altaf, is this relief that's come to Pakistan primarily due to the West and specifically the US mellowing down towards Pakistan? What's the reading, what's the sense in Pakistan? Because China and other countries like Turkey and Malaysia were already in support of Pakistan for the last several plenaries. But has the game changed, as one can say, because of support from the US?
Yes, you can partly say that, but it's been a combination of factors. Pakistan has taken stringent measures to improve its compliance, and that has also paved the way for Pakistan getting out of the grey list. And obviously, recent overtures with the US has also, you can't deny the importance of that as well, because FATF has always been used as a political foreign policy tool by world powers. And India, obviously, India has been gloating for last 4 years whenever Pakistan failed to come out of the grey list. But this time, actually, I think there is a lot of, I don't know how Indians are responding to whether they are skeptical, whether they are worried, or maybe they consider it to be something unfortunate, which shouldn't be the case. Neither you should be celebrating or being sorry about it. India has always tried to manipulate FATF and tried to use its clout in trying to target Pakistan, which I think is very unfair, and it shouldn't be the case.
But there is, there is existence of terrorists on Pakistani soil who have targeted India, specifically Masood Azhar. Of late, the Pulwama terror attack in which 40 CRPF jawans died was carried out by the Jaish. And Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar continues to be in Pakistan. Pakistan denies the whereabouts of Masood Azhar. But the fact of the matter is that it is known that he pretty much is there. Dawood Ibrahim is there. And then why has, China at the behest of Pakistan blocked 5 efforts in the last 4 months by India and US to sanction 5 terrorists, again Pakistan-based? We'll come to that question, but let me quickly play out that reaction from the FIA chief, Mohsin Bhatt.
जनाब एक सवाल है, क्या नहीं एक छोटा सा मतलब आप सुन लें, उसके बाद आपकी मर्जी होगी देना ना देना, क्या ये प्रोसेस एक्स्ट्राडिशन का बढ़ेगा भारत के साथ? दाऊद इब्राहिम को आप इंडिया को सौंपेंगे? एक्सेलेंसी, हाफिज सईद एंड दाऊद इब्राहिम मोस्ट वांटेड है इंडिया में, क्या आप भारत को सौंपेंगे?
So, see, you can clearly see no response there to that question. Ashok Sajjanar, I want to come to you because this allegation has come from Pakistan earlier as well, that the FATF is manipulated by countries like India. How do you respond to that, sir?
Not at all. I think FATF is one organization that is quite fair in its approach. You know what the gentleman from Pakistan said about India being worried? Of course, India is not worried. India is very well prepared to take care of itself, its security, its, whatever terror attacks. Even when it was in the grey list, as General Qadiana has said, it continued to launch against India. India has been handling these very effectively. And but we want to be, the purpose for which FATF is there. India has not used it for political purposes, but definitely other countries do use them for their own political ends. We've seen China, you mentioned about Turkey, Malaysia, and some of the other countries in West Asia also. But I think the purpose for which FATF has been established, that is to stop terror financing and money laundering. I think that is definitely, if countries are involved in it, are engaged in it, like Pakistan has been doing, and it has been proven beyond any reasonable doubt that this has been done, then of course FATF will come. One last point, Maha, I'll make here is, if you look at Pakistan's history, we see right from 2008, this is the fourth time that Pakistan has been on the grey list. So I think while India does not gloat over the inclusion of Pakistan in the grey list, I think Pakistan should also really not be celebrating at this juncture, because if it goes out of line, it is not very difficult to bring it back onto the grey list. After every 2 years, it has been coming onto the grey list. This is for 4.5 years that it has been on grey list this time. So I think if it really there are actions by Pakistan which are so obnoxious, then it will be the world body will be forced to bring it back onto its grey list. A few years ago, there was also a move to upgrade or downgrade it to the blacklist. Okay. So I think Pakistan should be mindful of all these consequences also.
Glenn Carl, I want to come to you, but before that, I'll request my director to pull out the graphics where we are listing the 3 top terrorists who continue to be in Pakistan. However, Pakistan has denied their existence, apart from, of course, Hafiz Saeed, against who action has only been taken just ahead of any plenary. Glenn Carl, it's a set pattern we have seen. Hafiz Saeed is used as some sort of an example setting by Pakistan just ahead of an FATF plenary. Why isn't it then very evident to the financial terror financing watchdog that this could perhaps be just some sort of a charade by Pakistan? Because over the last 4 months, as I pointed out, there have been 5 attempts by India and the US to sanction 5 terrorists in Pakistan, including 2 days ago, Talha Saeed, who's Hafiz Saeed's son. And this has been blocked by China. Now, why would China do it? Because it is a friend of Pakistan. So where does this argument of the US hold that to try and avoid Pakistan going any further into the arms of China, this sort of a leeway has been given to Pakistan?
Well, I think if we look for purity of purpose, we'll all be disappointed without exception, always. Of course, these are maneuvers. All of this is each nation advancing its own national interests as it defines them. Ruthlessly, really. And so we will fail. All of us will fail in the FATF if we seek to change the hearts, minds first and totally. What we should aspire to achieve, and I think have here, is some progress in certain behavior without expecting, although always trying, to reach perfection or a total conformity with our own objectives. So, yes, China is being cynical, Pakistan is being tactical and astute, and the U.S., I would argue, and the FATF on the whole, are also. And I'll just repeat that some progress is success rather than none. And if we, it's for 60 years, the United States has struggled to have some levers on Pakistan, and has always been frustrated. But some is better than none.
All right, I have the last 30 seconds left. I'll divide it into 15 seconds each. Raj Qadian and Umar Altaf. Raj Qadian, first to you, sir. Very quickly, President Joe Biden had only recently called Pakistan one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Do you think this was only for public consumption, coming ahead of what we have seen in FATF today?
I think Biden's statement is only for public consumption. Same Biden has given $450 million recently for the maintenance of F-16 aircraft, supposedly for use against terrorism. Where is terrorism in Pakistan except in their own? They are not going to use against their own people, are they? America also knows. So let us not take Joe Biden's statement as its face value.
All right. Umar Altaf, can Pakistan now promise that they will continue to act against terror despite this relief coming from the Financial Action Task Force?
Absolutely. There is no room for complacency, and Pakistan should adhere to whatever FATF requires of it. And President Biden is only acting like a senile old man because he's frustrated over the ignominious US withdrawal in Afghanistan. He still hasn't recovered from that. So he keeps having these outbursts from time to time.
Very personal remarks there that you've made against the US President. But nonetheless, with that, we'll have to thank all our 4 guests for joining us here on the show.